Joining us now, Jamil, Jaffer, Director of the National Security Law and Policy Program at George Mason and former Chief Counsel and Senior Advisor for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Jamil, great to see you as always. Iran is at the center of so much, everything it seems, coming out of the Middle East right now. So why should Israel not go straight to Tehran and deal with the leadership, as they have, quite clearly, the ability to do if they want to?
Well, look, I think it's a fair point. I think the real challenge here is, as you point out, we know that Iran is behind the Houthi rebels in Yemen. We know they're the funders behind Hamas. And we know that Hezbollah has been their key proxy force in the region for the better part of 3 decades. So we know they're the moving force behind all this effort. The challenge, of course, is if you go after the Iranian leadership, then you're provoking a nation-to-nation war with Iran. And while Iran has launched 2 direct attacks against Israel from Iranian territory, that's a war that nobody wants. It's not a war that Israel wants. It's not a war that Iran wants. It's a war that Israel, if the United States would run, the United States would win. But of course, it's a war that would be very bloody and very costly. And at a time when you're fighting Hamas in the south in Gaza, Hezbollah in the north, you don't want to pick a third front in this fight, and maybe a third front already in Yemen. You don't want to pick a fourth front in this fight directly with Iran.
So what do you do, therefore, Jamil, to keep Iran in the box and prevent it from getting out of said box? Do we just take out the nuclear facilities, the oil facilities? Is that going to be enough?
Well, it's a great question how you keep Iran in the box. Iran obviously has gotten out of the box. They've been out of the box for a while because they've been able to fund all this kind of terrorism with relative impunity. And so we've got to continue to push back. We've got to hit Iran directly. Israel's demonstrated they can do that. The United States need to be able to back them and continue to show that effort, because if we continue to allow U.S. soldiers to be targeted and Israel's territory to be targeted, eventually Iran will go too far and it will provoke a war.
So, and we're hearing word from the Houthis in Yemen just in the last hour, Jamil, that they are once again threatening U.S. interests if the U.S. continues to stand with and support Israel. So we've got all those naval assets in the region. Do they need to take a more offensive stance in terms of the Houthis, maybe?
Absolutely. Look, I think the only way that you're going to get pushback against Iran and its proxies is to hit them directly, hit them hard, and hit them repeatedly until you deter this kind of bad behavior. And at some level, we do need to hit Iran directly to make them feel the price. Today, their proxies feel the price. They don't feel the direct price. If we hit Iran directly, as President Trump did with Qasem Soleimani, that may be the solution to creating real deterrence in the region.
So nuclear facilities, is that the best place to hit them to make them take notice, Jamil?
Well, it certainly would make them take notice. The problem with the nuclear facilities is we can't be sure we'll get all of them. Some of them are buried very deep underground. We know some of them that we know of are buried deep. The problem is if you don't get all of them, then you run the risk to actually start and push towards a nuclear weapon, and then you've got a real bigger challenge.
Jamil, it is always so illuminating and educational to talk to you. Thank you so much for being here this early Wednesday morning.